trying to hold out VWAP. We just kind of
Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahushai, Brakati Yahweh, Brakati Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Chakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutation to the hopeful elect out there, Yoakim to Sadakim, that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. I'm the priest Shimon. This week's topic is entitled, they're playing with the precious metals markets. You know, they fucking with it. You know, I know brothers, you know, like to hold gold, like to hold silver. And in recent times, the beginning leading up to like pretty much last week, you know, gold, silver, these things are at all-time highs, man. And the apostle Eldar, he always goes into us and tells us about gold, which if you've taken that investment, you up. Overall, even with the pullback, you up. Now, they collapsed that shit just recently. I think over 6.5 trillion was transferred, well transferred, because no one truly, like, people do get wiped out, but that money doesn't just disappear. You know, it's a zero-sum game. But at the end of the day, and no matter what they do to play with these prices, gold and silver is the Lord's money. Gold and silver is actual value. You know what I'm saying? The book of Haggai, chapter 2, verse 8 reads, it says, the silver is mine, and the gold is mine, saith the Lord of hosts. You know, and there's another scripture in Genesis that said what? Abraham was rich in gold, silver, and cattle and such. You know, if Abraham was to be teleported with all of his wealth back in the ancient world to this present time, he would still be a very wealthy individual. Inversely, if you travel back in time with your paper currency or your crypto, they'll look at you like, what the fuck is that? You know? So gold and silver will always have some sort of value. However, if you picked up some gold and silver just before the crash, well, you technically, you know, you have a paper loss. When I say paper loss is you might have spent $200. I'm just giving, you know, numbers at a spot price, and then it just drops. Now it's worth less. Now you didn't lose your money per se because it could go back up, but technically right now, if you try to sell it again back immediately, you'd be down. You know, and these devils do that. You know, they say it's a lot to do with China, it's a lot to do with this, but they manipulate these markets, man. You see? But gold and silver is one of those things where it's not like all these different securities and things throughout the years, whether that be stocks or companies or trending stuff, NFTs, all these things. Gold and silver is actually the Lord's money, and it will always hold its value, no matter what Esau does to play with the markets. You see? But the fact that, you know, a lot of people put a lot of bread in that and that pullback, you know, say if you need that money immediately, you need to liquidate and get some cash, you just got hurt. This is why the scripture says in the book of Matthew chapter 6 verse 19, it says, lay not up for yourself treasures upon earth where moth and rust doth corrupt. Right? So this devil could play with the numbers and shit, but the first thing you want to really be putting in your reserves is your spiritual bank account. All right? Your spiritual bank account, you know? When you go to your channel, or different channels, you should have videos. All right? Whether that channel be deleted or in the past, you should have some sort of, you know, work you're putting in for the Most High, you know? And when you're doing that, because guess what? The Lord is also into investment, right? The scriptures tell you that he's an austere man. When he come back, he wants his money, his talent, with usury, with interest. Okay, how do you put interest on the talent that you were given? You got to go out and multiply. All right, and how do you do that? Spread the word. You see? So this is a return on investment. You see? The first major one. And again, there's nothing wrong with getting you some gold, nothing wrong with getting you some silver. Just be aware that this man could do shit like he just did recently. Completely manipulate the price down by like 30-something%. You know, they do things like shorting, okay, selling off futures, different things, man. Anyways, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon the earth, where moth and rust does corrupt, and wherein thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, wherein neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. Right? And this man could take anything from you in the society at any moment. The only thing he can't take from us is the truth. That belongs to the Lord. All these material possessions and shit that we seek for and we work our ass off to obtain, he could snatch it up at any moment. But when it comes to this knowledge, wisdom, understanding of the scriptures, that's yours forever. You see, the Most High is the one that blesses you with this truth, or takes it away from you. It says 21, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Right. So remember how we always talk about there's nothing wrong with money, there's nothing wrong with gold, there's nothing wrong with silver in itself, but it's the love of these things that fuck you up. And when I say the love of it, not necessarily you love making money. You know, you might go out, work your hours, you like making and providing for your family, but when it's going into that, it's really saying you start prioritizing that stuff over the Most High. You know, for example, you have groups out there that would omit certain doctrine for a bigger check. You know, a bigger payday. They'll tell you things like you could line your shit up, you could get dreads, bring the woman and children around. Why? Is it because they're truly trying to follow the Most High, or they want a larger congregation, they want to be less lenient because that means more tights and more followers? You see what I'm saying? That's when the love of money starts to come into play. All right? And we don't do shit like that here at Great Millstone. You see? 1 Timothy 6:10 says, for the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. Right? Okay? And when you read up, the scriptures tell you in the book of 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6, it says, but godliness with contentment is great gain. Okay? So, you know, be content with your daily bread. You know, like I said, if you a hustle and grind, brother, and I want to, you know, make more money, do all, ain't nobody stopping you from doing that shit, man. Okay? But the caveat is, just don't put it before the work. Like you had that guy out there in the Carolinas talking about, you know, I'm not gonna be able to put up videos, I'm not gonna be able to put up videos or go out there for like 4 weeks or some shit like that due to this studying for this job. Like, and then you had this guy from the Church of Berea, Shepherds of Berea, talking about ain't nothing wrong with that, ain't nothing wrong. Nah, there is something wrong with that. Now you stepping. Now you an habitual line stepper, in the words of Charlie Murphy. How, you know, you trying to push it, man. You know, there's no reason for you to be able to say, hey, I can't teach for X amount of, because I'm trying to get the fuck out of here with that, man. That's bullshit. You see? You tell them you can't pop up your camera and do a lesson while you're driving to a location. That's all excuses, you know? And furthermore, if the Most I want to bless you with a good job, he can. If the Most I want to bless you in a particular investment, he can. And you still be very fervent in the spirit, man. You know? You know, these guys, oh, GMS or bum ice, that's all bullshit, man. Brothers have good jobs, man. Brothers are locked in. But at the same time, we prioritizing this work first and foremost. We're not idiots. Okay? See? And then we get on each other too. You know, we tell brothers, hey, look, man, we know America's gonna be destroyed, but you can't let your responsibilities, you can't put your responsibility to the side. You know what I'm saying? You got this bill due, that bill due, and you're like, well, fuck it, I don't care about it. America's gonna be destroyed. That's not wise. You gotta take care of your responsibilities, man. Because guess what? That burden now is gonna fall on other brothers. All right, brothers are gonna have to pick up your burdens for self-inflicted wounds. So we always coach brothers not to do shit like that. You see? James 5:1 says, Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. It says, your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth-eaten, right? Your riches are corrupted. You know, a lot of these people at the very top, it's ill-gotten gains, man. Okay? And they do a lot of devious things to take money from people, man. All right, they'd have something called insider trading. Look at your Congress people here in America. All right, they come in with a salary of like $200K a year, and they leave out multi-millionaires. Why? Because they'll lock you up for insider trading, meaning you're trading a particular investment. All right, whether that be a stock or whatever. Okay, with knowledge that others don't have. You could go to jail for that. Yeah, they do it. Nancy Pelosi most famously. You see? So they get their riches through corruptions and deceit, but, you know, let you try to get a little scoop or what's going on and shit. They'll lock your ass up, man. Hit you a heavy ass fine. So it's like rules for thee, but not for me type shit here, man. It says 3, your gold and silver is cankered. Right, your gold and your silver is cankered, which we know gold and silver doesn't oxidize, but that's just funny money, man. This fiat currency. Historically speaking, the dollar is still pretty strong compared to other fiat currencies in the past. But, you know, according to prophecies, this thing is going to go the way of past. I'm talking about paper currency. All right, it's going to be completely digital, okay? Linked to an RFID microchip, man. All right, I was at the job the other day and I saw somebody just tapped with his Apple Watch. You know, you tap with your phone, he just put the watch there, and I was just like, man, this is so, it was like just a foreshadowing of like, that's just one step away from a chip in his hand and he's just tap it and go. Okay? Well, fuck tap it and go, and you're just gonna walk out the store. All right? They show you that years ago. They had this commercial where the security guard was following this guy. He looked like he was stealing from the store. You know, he had the trench coat on and shit, and he walked out the store, and the security guard chased him down and said, hey, you forgot this. Meaning he paid for it, but forgot to pick it up because they were so advanced in the future that as the moment you walked out, everything was already taken care of. That's what they're trying to get to. Paper currency doesn't have any place in that. That's a part of this man's new world order and system. And guess what? If you wrapped up into chasing these FRNs, you're going to go right along with this shit, man. Okay? If you're not spiritual, okay, if you don't have faith, and your eyes is always constantly on making more, to the point that you're going to put the Most High beside you, you will gladly take that chip, man. That's what the majority of the world will do. And the price for that will be thermonuclear missiles, pursuant to the book of Revelation, chapter 14, verse 8 on down. It says, your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasures together for the last days. And remember, I told you, this money doesn't just disappear, it's transferred. All right? And they stealing that shit. Whether that be manipulating markets, or that be just outright wars or whatever. Okay? Inside of all this type of shit they're doing, they're just taking money from the regular middle class and transferring it to themselves, right? Because I say this time and time again, you know, if you're a millionaire, let's say you got 5 million, right? Your enemy isn't the guy at the bottom. Your enemy is the guy that has 4 million right below you. So they're doing things to keep devouring just below them. You know, that's how come you had the COVID thing, man. 2020 lockdown was the largest wealth transfer in damn near history, man. They wiped out a bunch of small businesses. Why? Because the goal is to get rid of all small businesses, all right? You want a conglomerate, okay? You want companies like big blockchains, Costco's, and BJ. You want to get rid of the small guy because the small business owner has some sort of autonomy, right? The small business owner has some sort of autonomy to do certain things, okay? Like, in other words, if the chip was mandated, the small business guy could have like a little speakeasy taking cash. We want to get rid of that. We want big blockchains, Walmarts, and things like that. That way, when we roll out this chip thing, it'll be a lot easier, all right? Because you only have one place to go. You see, so that's what they're pushing towards. You know? But, you know, it's going to be a witness onto them. And guess what? You can reap all that money all you want, but now the scripture's not loading up. Oh, here it is. Is it 31? 31 and 5? Oh. Well, I don't know, but it's not popping up. Oh. You know, there's a book in Ecclesiasticus that tells you, you know, wealth, good health is above any riches. You know, because these devils will collect all that bread and do all this wickedness. But like, look at Benjamin Rothschild. The Most High just took his ass out. You know, so at the end of the day, the first things, to summarize the lesson, the first thing first is being right with the Most High and getting your spiritual bank account right. Okay? Do what you got to do in the society. Use this world. Don't abuse it. Okay? But your eyes should be set on the prize first and foremost, which is the kingdom of heaven. Anything that puts this thing to the back burner, that puts the truth to the back, all right, is going off. You know what I'm saying? Completely going off. Truth should be first. All right, with that, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashim Ruchak Kodash, that belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutation to the hopeful elect out there, you Akim to Zadakim that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. Shalom.